No, she'll have the pressure on her if it comes down to that, but she definitely likes 64 better.
Bang! Way to start it off on 63.
Carol Gianotti is going to be playing a little bit more of a swing than the other player, Sandra Jo Shiery or Laura Ucho that we saw earlier, or Carolyn Dorn. We talked about last night, Carol Gianotti, and I said, where's a little bit of a tweener? She said, not quite as straight as them, but not a real hooker either.
And the punch receives a counter punch as both bowlers strike in the first. Sandra Jo Shiery 3-2 in match play against the other four finalists. 14-10 match play record. Victorious once in San Diego. That occurred in April of this year.
Very first event of the spring tour. Tour started out in San Diego, moved on up to Santa Maria, and then around. Sandra Jo having no problem with the break. Able to march right back in, start out with the double. Both of these players very good friends, roommates, travel together. And you can see her home, Perth, Australia.
And remember, Gianotti was the champion at last week's event on the Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour and came into this event very relaxed and enjoying herself immensely. Seems like she's still doing that.
Taking a look at Carol Gianotti's game, a player uses all the approach, 5 steps, will push the ball out on the second step, has a pretty large push away, high backswing, small power step right there. You can see as she gets into her slide, she stays down. Great follow through, great wrist motion. Carol Gianotti is using a ball that hooks a little bit more. I was just told she sent a lot of her equipment on to Las Vegas. That tournament starts within 2 days. It's a long haul down there, and she said, so I don't have anything that doesn't hook. The lanes are a little drier than they had been. She didn't expect them to be that way. This is a ball she was using in practice. It got caught in a ball return on lane 62. Marked it up a little bit, but apparently she is not using this ball. It would not affect her choice if it was not in her trap, whether she used the ball or not. Probably different weights. The 2 green balls that are sitting there.
Carol Gianotti went to the 15-pound ball this month due to the surgery she had on her arm earlier in the season. Sandra Jo gets her 3rd in a row. We've got 6 strikes out of 6 balls thrown here in this championship match. Great contest going on. 6th year on the tour for Sandra Jo. 29 years of age, out of Bronson, Michigan. And the 7 doesn't fall.
And a very solid year for Sandra Jo, as she's talked about it being an up and down year, though she is 11th in points, very solid, 15th in earnings with over $33,000, and 10th in average. She's averaged 209 for all the games across the country. So what seems to be an up and down year for her may be a very good year for someone else.
Sandra Jo gets the spare in the 4th. She says her goal is to win a major as soon as possible. Gianotti back now 3 in a row so far. Defeated Sandra Jo in match play. And most interesting to me is Gianotti's overall average on the TV pair. Oh, she leaves the 10. I should note that's 266.67 pins, her overall average on the TV pair. I showed that statistic to her before the start of the match, and her eyes opened really wide. She had no idea she'd done so well here.
And that was for 3 games. She actually was in the shadows of Laura Ucho last night as she shot 400 over herself, averaged 250. Ooh. Oh,
I thought it was going to fall, yeah.
Averaged 251 for her last 8 games of match play, but there was so much emphasis in Laura Ucho averaging 258 that nobody really noticed Carol over here bowling great too.
Well, they're bowling exactly the same through the 4th frame. Gianotti with 7 Pro Bowlers Tour titles, the 7th one coming just last week.
In a very close final, 224 to 223. It looks like this one's going to be equally as close. She slaps out the 10 at the last minute. Feels very much at ease, feels very relaxed. Again, if she stays calm, doesn't get too fast, she won't throw any bad shots. Coming up a little high, trips the 4-7. No problem, though. They all go. And there's a look at Dale Houston, a certified massage therapist who was on hand this week. Also worked many times on Carol Gianotti. It's always nice to have our chiropractors and massage therapists to help ease some of the sore muscles.
One of the greatest enlightening pieces of information I've gleaned on the tour is the remarkably large number of games these women bowl on a regular basis. And of course, that's got to have some impact, all the weight on one side of the body and the effect on the spine, and having somebody here to look after them. An important consideration.
That's right. So many times one side of your body overdevelops the other side, and then that actually makes you very prone to injuries. The key is to try to equalize that out, work on weights at home to try to strengthen possibly the left side of your body for right-handed players.
Well, the door's somewhat open now with the spare in the 6th as Gianotti steps up over on 64.
Carol Gianotti currently 10th in earnings with a little over $41,000. She was the runner-up to Player of the Year in 1992. She had won 4 titles that year. But she fell to Tish Johnson, who was named Player of the Year.
And so the dead tie is broken here in the 6th. We had the chance to ask Carol about how last week's victory might affect her performance here in South Bend.
I felt pretty relaxed, actually. I come out the first day of qualifying and my arm was loose and everything. I mean, just coming back from everything, winning last week, I mean, you know, I didn't expect anything this week, but I was just so relaxed and my arm swing was loose, so I bowled really well.
Loose is a good way to describe how that 10-pin just sort of slumped over in the 7th frame.
Yeah, and she trips the 4 and the 10. Watch this, goes a little off balance. You can see here the ball breaking really high. Head pin off the wall, takes out the 4-pin the last minute, and the 6-pin took out the 10.
Well, that compares highly to the gift she got last week, when Anne-Marie Dugan needed a 9 to tie or a strike to...
Speaking of gifts, Sandra Jo Shiery got one of her own as she just tripped out the 8-10 simultaneously. Those were beautiful. I'd like to see that
synchronized
fall again.
bowling.
That's right, 8 and 10. They felt exactly the same way.
Take a look at the scoreboard once again. The only difference in the 6th frame, the strike and spare, is the margin, and it's worth 20 pins to Gianotti. But Sandra Jo comes right back. 2 in a row here in the 8th. Carol steps up. She's got 3 strikes in a row.
Carol wanted me to mention her fiance Neil Block, who was out in California at the time. I want to say hi. She misses you.
Scheduled for marriage in 1996 at a time when she will relocate back to Australia.
She says, I want to bowl a couple more years. Sam's Town's been a great sponsor. They're due to be out here for a couple more years. I want to give it all I've got, and then we'll end up back in Australia for a little bit. Maybe have a family.
Carol, number 10 on the money list this year, putting aside a little nest egg, a little hope chest for that marriage a few years away. Seemed like she was a little off balance, and the 6 did not cooperate with the 10 there.
Came up a little short. She mentioned a little off balance, but that's because she's trying to throw the ball very hard. Right now, the 6-pin does not take out the 10. When you try to change the ball speed, it may throw your timing off a little bit. She's trying to pick up ball speed through her footwork.
And she went off into the channel a little early, leaving the 9th frame open and possibly opening the door as well.
Exactly. We saw Carolyn Dorn give it to Sandra Jo Shiery that way. Now, Carol Gianotti in the 9th frame did the same thing. Get a little quick. Ball never gets to the leverage point. And Sandra Jo says, hey, if you're not going to open the door for me, I'm going to try to walk through it. She can shoot a possible 259. That would be more than enough for Carol Gianotti, who can only go off the sheet for 246. Big lead change right there in the 9th frame. Wow. I almost gave this title to Carol Gianotti. She's looking over. She's going to kick herself right now, as did Tish with a critical error, and also Carolyn Doran. The caliber of players is out here is such that you cannot open the door for another player, especially on a condition like this.
Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And who knows, a strike at 9 here could lock out Gianotti. The strike has occurred.
Sandra Jo just given it everything she has. She just really got a lot on that ball. Watch her hand rotation here. Just really rips through it. Very aggressive shot. 5-pin goes flying. No problem with getting 10 out there.
So with 9 pins, it'll be all over right here.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. And Carol Gianotti is looking over the scoreboard. There is no way she's going to have to be able to believe it. Right now, if she spares, she shoots 247. Carol Gianotti can only shoot 246. If she takes 1 pin off of this, we could have a possible tie. She got a big break by carrying out 2 of those pins off the bucket. Needs them both.
And got some. So touchdown Jesus on the campus of Notre Dame might be looking in this direction as Sandra Jo Shiery becomes the winner here in South Bend. Her 3rd title. She is exhausted sitting.